Hey guys, me again. Hope you're all doing very well this evening. Tonight I'm going to be resuming my Around the World horror series. If you can remember back a few weeks ago, I left off with part 3, which was my Spanish horror collection. So basically in this series, if you're new to it, I pretty much go through my collection and it's around the world horror because I've got a lot of foreign films. So these are horror films that aren't American. So it pretty much goes around the world. I've got many films from each sort of continent. So uh, yeah, I left off with part 3. I was pretty busy since then, so I kind of had a little bit of a break, but tonight I'm going to be resuming it. But before I do so, I just want to tell you all that I've reached 100 videos, so that's a bit of a milestone for me. I never thought I would make this many. I never thought I would enjoy it as much as I am. So unless you guys are getting sick of me, I'm going to continue to make many more videos because, it's really cool being part of this horror community on YouTube. And, it takes my mind off the problems that I have in my everyday life. So really enjoying making videos, and hopefully you guys continue to be interested. I'm going to try and mix up my videos just to make sure nothing gets too boring. So hopefully you're enjoying my reviews and you're going to enjoy this Around the World series. And I'm also thinking about doing a competition, but maybe when I hit 300 subscribers, because I just got to think about what I want to do, think about the prizes. So that won't be for a while yet, but keep an eye out for that. So today, tonight is going to be part 4. This is going to be my collection from New Zealand / Australia. So New Zealand and Australia, very close together. We consider New Zealand our little brother. New Zealand considers us their little brother. So there's a bit of a rivalry between the two countries, a very friendly rivalry, but still, it's pretty good to have a healthy sort of rivalry between the countries. It spices things up, especially in sport. But anyway, I decided to combine the two because I've only got 2 New Zealand horror films. So I thought not enough to make an entry by itself, so I'm just going to combine the two and show you what I have to offer. So Australian horror, as you all know, very close to my heart, so this is a very special sort of collection for me. So, okay, we're going to start off with my 2 New Zealand horror films. Now, these 2 are Peter Jackson films, and you're no doubt familiar with both of them, so I'll get through them. The first one is Brain Dead. Peter Jackson's earlier stuff is his best, I think, and I really hope he comes back to the horror sort of comedy genre. I think he does an awesome job. The gore is really good in this one, but you don't need me to tell you that. You've probably already seen it. But if you haven't, you have to go and see it. And this is his first one, Bad Taste. Equally as good. A very small budget, but the gore is done very well. It's a very cheap sort of feel, but I actually thought the gore in this film was better than some mega budget gore. I just thought the practical sort of effect was much better than CGI, and I'd much rather see gore like this than CGI gore. But anyway, 2 great films. Peter Jackson's best in my opinion. Now we get to the Australian stuff. Now some of these films I've talked about them over and over, so you don't need me to go into detail. If you want more details on these films, then please feel free to go and check them out, because I've reviewed pretty much all of them, I think. Yeah, well, the first one is a film that I've said has been one of my favourites. I've said it quite a few times, and that's Wolf Creek. Once again, if you want to see a review and see some details about what the film's like, then please go and check out the review. It's one of my earlier reviews, and I've talked about this time and time again. Very nasty film. Now this one's from the same director. This is his second film, Rogue, about a rogue crocodile terrorizing these tourists in a tidal river. Really good film up until the end. I thought the end completely ruined it, but it was a fairly good film minus the ending. Apparently there's going to be a Wolf Creek 2, which is coming out this year, and I can't wait for that. This one is another crocodile movie called Blackwater. Now, Rogue was a very sort of Hollywood feel to it. This one is a much more realistic film. The director of this film also directed a very recent film called The Reef. I liked The Reef. I thought it was thrilling, but I thought this film was superior to that one. So if you like The Reef, you definitely check this one out. Very low budget, so the acting isn't great, but I thought the actual story and the way it was told was really nerve-wracking. Shreds your nerves completely. Sadistically shredded. As it says on the back. Prepare to have your nerves sadistically shredded. Exactly what it is. I've done a review of this for the House of Horror. If you're not familiar with the House of Horror, please subscribe to them. I'll leave a link below. It's a horror sort of channel that different reviewers do a review each day, and I did a review of this one. So very, very good low budget Australian horror film. This one is another film I talked about in one of my earlier videos. This is Acolytes. Story about blackmail and how things can go from bad to worse very quickly. Very dark cover art. This is a very sort of underrated Australian horror film. Next one is I Know How Many Runs You Scored Last Summer. Not really memorable, this one. I thought it was poo. Had its moments, but it just wasn't that funny. It's supposed to be a horror comedy. Storm Warning. This one is a very popular one. Personally, I didn't really like it too much. It had really good gore, but I just think it steered away from what Australian horror is all about. I thought Australian horror is all about realism. This one kind of leaves the realism. Great gore, but I just didn't. For an Australian film, I wanted something a little bit different. But yeah, going into this one, you'll probably enjoy it. Most of you will enjoy it, but being the native Australian that I am, I just wanted something a little bit along the lines, say, of the brutality of Wolf Creek. But yeah, it's always good to have a different film, but it just didn't really work for me. Next one's not a horror film, but it's a really good thriller, and it's a very brutal film. I just had to include this one, The Horseman. Really good revenge sort of thriller. Father gets revenge on these people that were involved in his daughter's death. Really, really good film. This one is a very underrated film, No Through Road. I had heard nothing about this one. The marketing was poor, but the film wasn't poor. I actually really enjoyed this one. Quite brutal. And the last film in my Australian horror collection is Undead. Really, really funny horror comedy. Really, really good gore. So if you like your zombie films with a bit of a twist, definitely check this one out. I highly recommend this one. Alright guys, that's it for part 4. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you later. Bye.